Welcome to Season 5 of the Color Success Podcast, where we talk with guests from AAPI and ethnic minority communities and have real discussions about mental health and what success looks like. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Before we get into it, remember to subscribe to our mailing list for free at colorsuccesspodcast.com so you don't miss any updates. There, you will find our socials, YouTube channel, and all episodes on streaming platforms for great additional content. Michelle Ngo-Wong, a former tech professional turned real estate investor and mental health advocate, is building out her passion project in Oahu, Hawaii, which is a wellness retreat that focuses on mental health. Through Lotus Rising Retreats, Michelle and her team have been able to build a transformative experience for individuals looking for restoration and healing. Jennie Lok is a trusted real estate consultant who has helped 200 plus families locally and nationally. She became a homeowner at 23 and is now an investor in 220 plus units. She guides clients to financial freedom and educates them on passive income. Jennie has been recognized as 30 under 30 by Realtors magazine and is dedicated to serving and empowering her community. So Michelle and Jennie, thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to have powerful women on the screen.
We're so excited to be here. Thank you for having us in this beautiful podcast you've been creating and curating.
Thank you. Well, I'm very curious about the new retreats that you guys have opened up in Hawaii. I'm hoping that I get an exclusive invite. But could you tell us more about how you created this and what was the inspiration behind it?
Stephanie, you'll absolutely be invited to our retreat. We would love to have you. So it all started for me personally when I left my tech job to start investing in real estate. And I had a goal of making purpose-driven investments. And I was looking to create a lifestyle that would allow me to do whatever I want with my time and live a full, purposeful life. And so I was really inspired by my love for travel and hospitality, interior design, wellness, and specifically mental health. I have family members living with severe mental illness, and it's always been my mission to make an impact in this space and help others improve their mental health. And that's where I came up with the idea of creating a mental health wellness retreat. So I moved to Hawaii and thought I would actually find a property within a couple months. That was my desire, and it took me over an entire year to find the perfect property. I was starting to get pretty discouraged and maybe thinking like, should we look in other locations, other islands? And luckily we stumbled upon this one, which ended up being the perfect property that checked off all the boxes that we were looking for. This property is over 2 acres with 3 separate living spaces. It has ocean views. It has privacy. It's really secluded, surrounded by nature, and there's ample parking.
That's a must in Hawaii.
No, it's important. It's a rarity, honestly, especially on Oahu, which is where we're located. So I consider it a luxury. And our retreat is going to be focused on serving people that are experiencing stress and burnout and looking to improve their mental health. And it's basically going to be a transformative retreat and really, really focused on healing. So we've partnered with psychotherapists to create a program with tangible exercises and these exercises that have worked with their clients in the past. And this goal is really just to give a very nurturing environment for our guests to deepen their understanding of themselves, to heal from their past experiences, process any emotions, and embrace a new identity. What is the new identity they want to step into once they can heal the things from their past? So what I really love about this retreat is beyond just the 3-day, 4-day retreat that we're offering, we're really wanting to focus on creating a community that fosters support. So beyond just people coming and visiting the retreat, we're going to have a way for them to stay connected and supporting each other. So I think that's actually the most crucial part in our healing journey, is just making sure that people have a support network.
Well, I don't want the invitation. I'm just going to move in and squat. So good luck getting me off the property. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, it sounds amazing. And I want to go back a little bit to what you said, though, about having family members struggling with severe mental illness, because that term gets thrown out a lot in civilian life. I say civilian because I work with veterans as well. But what has your family experienced? What has your experience or perception been of the struggles that they've had?
Yeah, so my lens of the world has always been one around mental health because of what happened very early on in my childhood. Around when I was around 5 years old, my mom and I were really close. She was my favorite person. We did everything together. I'm also an only child, so it was just me and my parents. And then everything changed when my mom started to develop severe mental illness, and she was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia. And what happened over the years is we slowly lost her and her personality, the version of her that we knew, to the illness. And it was really difficult for not only myself, but also my father, who tried to take care of everything on behalf of her and our family. And so my upbringing was pretty chaotic and painful. We had a lot of unpredictability. My mom would run away from home or have episodes, or have just begin screaming or breaking things. So it was oftentimes really scary for me. And eventually with my dad, also, he's an immigrant from China. His mental health was never on his radar. He didn't know anything about mental health, didn't know how to even find help or what resources were available to him. And so this is where, culture comes in, especially the patriarch of the family. He believed that he had to shoulder the burden on his own. And he just suffered in silence. And we all kind of suffered in silence. What happened to him eventually is he broke, and he started experiencing severe PTSD, depression. And now I know that there's a label called caregiver PTSD, which is basically when somebody is caring for a sick family member or a loved one, and they forget to put themselves first and their mental health first. So that's what happened to my dad when I was a teenager. And having two parents dealing with mental health challenges was really my lens of the world. I was very aware from a young age of what could happen if you don't take care of yourself and your mental health. And I was really inspired to make a difference when I got older.
Yeah, I mean, you're really talking about caregiver burnout. And I don't know if your mom was hearing or seeing things that weren't there, and having the persecutory thoughts, that could be really, really difficult. And what I've experienced is, when working with people that are diagnosed with SMI, they don't want to take don't want to take their medication because they're worried that someone will poison them or someone's after them. So it becomes this very, very tricky situation. So I mean, thank you for getting so open and honest. I think the more we talk about this, because I know a lot of folks in our generation talk about anxiety, depression, and burnout, but also what happens, when your loved one or yourself starts to have these experiences. We want to be able to say there's also hope for that too. So I don't want to neglect Jennie. And I wanted to ask, she told me a little bit about her journey when we met at the Asian Hustle Network conference about retreats and the restorative experience that she has. So, Jennie, what led you to become a part of this endeavor, so to speak?
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of background of my mom and my parents, my mom was adopted as a child and basically given away and sold for $25 to my grandmother who raised me. And she didn't even know that she was not her mother until she was in her 20s. And I've gone through a lot of healing myself, and I have a birthmark. It's a green birthmark on my butt. I'm not sure if anyone else has that that's listening here, but it is saying that I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan.
Mhm.
And when I realized that and working through a lot of my healing work, I realized that I'm carrying multiple generations. You carry at least 7 generations of trauma and identity and DNA from you, and you're going to pass on 7 generations ahead of you as well, too, at least. And I realized I was carrying a lot of pain from multiple generations. And my mom has that birthmark. But now I really look back of my mom actually was the one to break the curse and break free from the family. And I'm here to really heal. And she found my dad, who was born on the same birthday as Guan Yin, which is
Wow.
and then I'm just like, I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan and Guan Yin. And but yeah, so Genghis Khan, he is known for a lot of force, rape, and coercion, and just really expanding out there. And within Asian patriarchy and previous teams that I was on, there was a lot of trauma that I've had and like being held or led by patriarchal leaders. And I thought that was the only way. And I would remember just coming home, crying and questioning myself and realizing, like, hey, am I a bad person? And just really not happy. But I thought that was like how life had to be. And I was able to work through some of my mental health through therapists and coaches, and they helped me realize that I was able to break free. I had a lot of visualizations. One of my visualizations was that I was not just in golden handcuffs or golden shackles that people felt like when they work in a toxic environment. I was actually wearing like golden armor, fighting in an army. And when I was able to break free from that armor and lift up and saw myself as an angel, and I was like, we're not fighting anything. There's no war or battle, and we're constantly living in like competition. So being able to float back down and be able to share that message with the world and realize, hey, we can come in business and in life through love, not through competition. So that's something where was my like previous Genghis Khan side, and now like really tying it to my Guan Yin side of the love and how can we bring compassion into this world and being able to spread that to everyone, especially in our communities where it's not really commonly talked about.
Absolutely. And there's so much to unpack there in general, but Guan Yin looks gorgeous in American Born Chinese because Michelle Yao plays her. But I just think that there's so much that we have gone through as a people, as a community, and we continue to go through it. So I read Peony in Love by Lisa C. She's one of my favorite historical fiction writers. And I think this aspect of women being sold, being raped, being there for the entertainment or the needs of men, it goes back so many generations. And so it's kind of like, how are we going to redefine as women um, the life that we want to live? And I think that you said it really well, Jenny, of being able to lead with love, that it's not a weakness, that it's actually a strength, and to have compassion for people, because there's so many in the world that have, you know, not been kind to other people. That's an understatement. But this retreat and all of this sounds like a culmination of taking your careers and your healing journeys into your own hands. So that's amazing. But you mentioned that you guys came from very different professions, seemingly, than doing retreats. So, how do you feel like your professional backgrounds have really contributed to this new endeavor, and maybe some new stretch skills that you've had to learn?
I think for me, it was really a combination of all the things that I love and was passionate about, but also I did an inventory of my skill sets and found that from running Airbnbs, I really loved hosting people and the hospitality side of things. From my corporate background, I learned financial budgeting and accounting, how to streamline processes and create operations. And then from real estate investing, I feel like there's a lot of transferable skills when it comes to running a retreat and specifically on a piece of real estate with a team and streamlining operations. But many skills like acquiring a property, for example, finding the perfect property that checks off all the check boxes, and then finding a way to hire all the vendors to renovate the property, maximize the appreciation on this property, generate income, raise funds from investors for your project, analyzing budgets and analyzing competitors and seeing what other competitors are out there and how to price your retreats. And then finally, Jennie is really, really strong with this, but with marketing, social media, and advertising, and also networking. It's something very transferable to what Jennie does in her line of work as a realtor and an investor. And so what's also awesome about what we're doing is Jennie and I are actually retreat junkies. We go to a lot of retreats.
Explain more.
I at least for me, I love retreats. I've gone to a bunch of them, and every single time for different reasons. It could be a real estate retreat, a health retreat, a personal growth retreat. Every time that I've gone to one, I always leave feeling amazing, reset, refreshed, realigned. And so realizing the power of just bringing people to a location for a few days, undistracted and unplugged, and having them focus on whatever the task at hand is, or whatever you're trying to heal, is so powerful, and it creates such an impact on your life. So just knowing that and combining our passion for wellness and mental health along with all of our skill sets, I think makes us a really strong team.
Well, I joked with Jennie. I'm like, can you just do and copy and paste what you did so I can retire now? I'm a little bit older than you guys. And so I'm just like, she's like, yeah, we teach this. And I'm like, no, Jennie. After I read the message, I just want you to do it for me. But we know that can't be the case, right? So in the Bay Area, there is this rat race that we go through. At any rate, so Jennie, you mentioned that you were 23 when you became a homeowner. How did that happen, and how do these skills transfer now to, again, the retreat and having this new partnership?
Yeah. So starting off with my investing journey, I worked in corporate as well, initially learning sales, and I just had a passion to be able to help my parents retire. So seeing like how hard they were working, they're immigrants, they work 12-hour days, sometimes 14-hour days, 7 days a week in a clothing factory, where it was less than minimum wage because you're only paid per cents of item that you sew. And it was very stressful manual labor. So my big goal was to be able to help them retire and move them out here. And I focused my big goal to be able to get them a house and move out here. And I remember my goal was 28 years old to be able to do that. And then I went and invested $50,000 in a coaching program that I did not have. I just put it on our credit card. They taught us how to increase our credit limits, just saying we make X amount of dollars and they don't really check. And I put it all on a credit card and just trusted myself, because I knew I did not want to go through the corporate rat race anymore. Because I remember just trying to ask for a $3,000 a year raise and did not get it. I was like, this is going to take forever. But then I bought my first house, leveraging home equity line of credits, and learned bank money and learning what tools are out there, and was able to fast track that 28-year-old goal to 23. It's like, wow, if I can do that, I want to be able to teach others on doing so. That's why I left corporate and went into real estate full time to teach others on the power of properties and real estate, and it's the best tool to be able to be financially free so that you don't have to work anymore. And we then started buying out of state investment properties in Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Utah, and now Hawaii. But with all these, what we say is like we start with our active income, then we go to our passive income, and now we're focusing on our passion income, which is retreats and being able to focus on that passion to be able to help and heal others. And within this retreat, like we mentioned we're retreat junkies and we love that. And after my wedding, most people go on a honeymoon just to relax. However, Michelle and I decided to host and lead a New Year's Bali retreat. We had our wedding in Singapore, and Michelle was a great partner in leading this retreat for my friends, my closest friends. There was 20 of us, and just really doing breath work, meditation, mindfulness, and inner trauma healing, and also goal setting for the year, and being able to plan financially how to have success. I feel like there's a lot of different avenues in coaching that might be very financial based and then all very spiritual based, but there's not a combination of the two. And it's like, hey, you can have a lot of success while being spiritual as well.
I love that. And I met your husband. He's a joy. So I can see that he's totally on board with the retreat and just being super supportive. And when you told me about your non-traditional, untraditional honeymoon, I was like, you guys are perfect for each other. Like you guys will travel together and do all these fun things and relaxing things too. So thinking a little bit more about relationship with money, because that's something that keeps coming up. And for a long time, I've dreamed of doing a workshop on that because I think that money means different things to different people. It's not just the actual currency. And Jenny, you mentioned about your parents, making money per garment that they made. Which is very, very tiring. So, what has your relationship been with money? First, we'll go to Michelle, that has really evolved over time.
Yeah, I definitely had to have a lot of mindset shifts when it came to money, especially as I became a manager and eventually an entrepreneur, and to see it differently and more as a vehicle than a creation of safety. And I think that's what a lot of people associate money with, is with safety, is okay, this money brings me shelter and food. And without it, I can't survive. And so, I had to take a step back, and I did a lot of inner work with some coaches to kind of reset my relationship with money. I actually wrote a letter to money and talked about my entire history with money and how I wanted to change my relationship. But just deep diving into my relationship with money, I realized how much of my viewpoint of money came from my parents and their parents and was passed down from generations. And for me, being a descendant of immigrants, there was no financial knowledge. There wasn't money mindset, right? It was more like you hustle and you sacrifice for the betterment of your children, whatever it takes. And this is how you survive. Everybody's always in survival mode, and that's how they looked at money. So realizing, especially for us in this generation in the United States, we're really blessed to know that this government will take care of you if you are lacking in resources, in housing, in food. There's many ways the government will help you out in those areas that you actually, your basic needs as a human being are generally met by our government. And so shifting that mindset of, okay, it's no longer a safety, something that's unsafe without money. It's more looking at it as a vehicle to create more opportunities and bigger impact. And that's what that's kind of the journey that I went on when I became a real estate investor, is seeing my money as a bigger hammer. So the more money we make, the bigger impact, the bigger hammer I will have to create the impact that I desire. And yeah, that's been really helpful with my relationship with money.
I need to write my letter to money tonight. I mean, that's that's a great strategy. So Jennie, how did all these generations, because you also talked about Genghis Khan and just this idea too of really exerting powerful force and pain to people to get resources, right? How do you go from kind of resolving that in your mind to now going to helping people for with with good, with love, with compassion with your money?
Yes. And initially, money, I had the relationship where you had to work and put time and receive money. But then when I learned about really being able to shift that mindset of like, not many millionaires became millionaires by just working and saving to become a millionaire.
Mhm.
They invested in themselves, they invested in stocks, they invested in real estate, invested in businesses to be able to get to where they were. So I really shifted my relationship with money to follow the people who had it and the people who are doing it for good. Because there are a lot of in all the movies, like a lot of the people are who have money are shown as a bad people, but there is amazing people like Bill Gates who are doing so much good for the world and changing the course of action for multiple countries and he's bringing clean toilets to a lot of developing countries.
Mhm.
Just following, hey, what are they doing in this world? And if there were more good people and coming from love with money, how much more help and how much more healed would we be in this world? And I also heard a quote from a mentor that you need to invest 10% of what you want to make in yourself. So I realized, okay, I need to invest. If I like the year I invested 100, like $15,000, I was able to make $150,000. The year I invest, like last year, I invested over $250,000 in my own mental health journey, in my own coaching, in all different aspects of my health and wellness and specific real estate goals too, and coaching, and made $2.5 million. And I think just being transparent with that as well too, because my parents always like, don't tell people how much you make,
Mhm.
and like they're going to come after you, they're going to try to steal your money. But I want to set the difference and be the example of, hey, it is possible, because that limits myself and other people around me of what is possible. And I've taglined my hashtag to be unlock your potential, because I want to unlock people's potential, and you can do a lot more potential when you have the resources and the abundance of resources through money.
Well, and you're talking about breaking that silence, breaking that barrier of secrecy, because similar, like when even now with friends, it's like we don't have conversations about what's your net worth and how much do you make per year and things like that. It feels very taboo and uncomfortable, at least around us. I mean, if you work in the government, it's out there. You can Google it, because you can see the pay scales and stuff like that. But this idea of setting the example and giving people the tools to say we don't have to hide how much we're making because everyone can do it. So how do you get over that fear though? Both of you kind of walked away from corporate, from tech, and a lot of people are feeling that burnout. They start right after college. They get this job, and I talk with a lot of my friends of like, when you're in your right out of college, you're like, yay, I have a job. And then as you progress through, you're like, yay, I have a job. Like, when's payday, right? So, how do you help people get over that hump of saying, no, it's okay to take that risk because eventually, if you stick with some of these tools that we're giving you, it'll work out. But it could be scary.
I can start with that. So we just hosted a beautiful retreat this past weekend, actually, with our Zen Coast University real estate coaching community. And one of the exercise we had our community do was write their eulogy. So your eulogy is what people will say about you after you have passed and what you're known for, some of your accomplishments and some of the things that you've impacted the world for. And by me writing my eulogy, I wrote how many lives I was able to impact, the And I was able to take my parents. I actually helped them retire last year at the age of 29, bought them a house, moved them from New York, and they don't have to work in the clothing factory anymore. And they're just living the life now. But now my next goal is to be able to show them the world because they've given me the world and be able to travel. They don't like airplanes. So they're like, I want a big boat and be able to travel and go wherever I please and have all my stuff in one place. So just being able to buy them a mini cruise ship and travel around the world. And those are some of the goals I like mentioned in my eulogy of writing like the specific details, but also the people I was able to impact and also come along the way with me too. So that is one message I would share, and especially with people who are feeling the burnout and there are struggles, like being business owners ourselves, like we go through that constantly, and we are also carrying and we feel like, hey, we are having to pay and feed all of these other lives and their families, but we're doing it because it's a bigger purpose in life, and it's going to fund our bigger purpose in life as well too.
Yeah, that's a acceptance and commitment therapy exercise there. It's amazing. And I say, yeah, it's a little morbid, but also, what would be a tagline? I mean, knock on wood, hashtag unlock your potential. I don't know if that would be good on like a tombstone, but I think that, there's this aspect of what do you want to be known for? What is your value? What is your mission in your life? And that really is the North Star. So Michelle, what about you? What are you hoping, and what impact are you hoping to have on your community, your family, yourself?
Yeah, I think, we always say a lot of our passion comes from our wounds. And for me, my lens of the world was based on what happened to my upbringing and what happened to my parents. And when I began to overcome the stigma of not sharing what was happening at home, it took me a long time. I was 18 until I started sharing with my community and the people around me, even what was happening in my life and around mental health and mental illness. And NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, was one of those organizations that really transformed my life and made me realize that, well, there's so many other people that went through similar situations, just like my family. And I didn't realize it because the whole time I thought that my struggle was mine and I was very, very alone in this journey. And so I actually really love NAMI's tagline, "You are not alone." Your story is important. And I agree with that, is just letting people know that your journey is there's other people that will support you on your journey. You are not alone in your journey. And there's so many people out there that can relate to what's happening. But the first step is really opening up and sharing and being comfortable with that and finding a healthy support network. So that's really my goal for my life, is to help. I wrote on my eulogy, 100 million people improve their mental health. And that's my lifelong dream, is just to put the message out there, let them know, like, you are not alone and you are seen and you are held, and we're here to support you. And just really changing the story around mental health and partnering with people like yourself, Stephanie, to get that message out there and let people know it's going to be okay and we're here for you.
And I imagine that support system really helped you step away from this tech industry situation. And, we are from the same high school, actually, which is a whole nother beast, which we can probably spend hours chatting about because it is a magnet school. You had to have the grades, the test scores, the activities, and all that to get into this public school. And from my experience, it brought on a whole different level of anxiety and pressure and this set bar. Not my husband. He barely went to class, but that's another story. So I think that that's really this insular community, though, that really breeds type A, achievement oriented folks. And I really found that there wasn't much attended to in terms of mental health. And that's what really inspired me, because I share this often. We had a suicide when I was in high school there, and there was no mention of mental health resources or a psychologist. We had guidance counselors, for to get into college, of course, because everyone wanted to go to UC Berkeley. Um, and but there was not anything of that nature to talk to anyone about it, to process it, what was putting us at risk. And so I think that support network is so, so important to let people know that it's not about just getting that stable, back in the day, six-figure job and then just live your life out and work and toil away, right? What you guys are bringing to the table is this ability to help other people, but also feel connected and supported, if people are struggling. So, I mean, it's just amazing. So, I guess a couple last questions. Any tips to folks listening or watching about starting a new venture, that you can kind of give them a spark of hope that they could do it?
Yeah, started a few companies in the last few years. So Zen Coast Homes, my real estate team, Zen Coast University, which is a coaching platform. We've started a mastermind called the Ikigai Collective, which is finding your Ikigai, what you're good at, what you can get paid for, what the world needs, and also what you love to do and what you're passionate about. And that's our goal in life, is to be able to find the Ikigai. And I would say first tip is really understanding your personality. I love personality tests as much as I love retreats. So the human design, figure out what you're born with as well. Figuring out what your 16 personalities is, what your DISC assessments are, what your Enneagram is, and figure out what your skill sets are, and be able to partner with people as well too who have a similar vision. And we always say, if you want to go fast, go at it alone. But if you want to go far, go at it together. So really be able to come with people who have a similar vision and just put it out in the universe as well too. Michelle and I only met just 3 years ago. However, it feels like we're lifelong cousins and friends because our souls were meant to align. So just putting it out in the universe that you're looking for someone in the space and who do you know, and you will get connected to those people.
Absolutely. It was by happenstance because I was just walking around to everybody, talking with all the vendors just to get to know them. And I think that curiosity really has brought me to meet you guys. And I just started chatting, and your husband was just like, "Yeah, we are, in the Bay Area." I was like, "So am I." And there's this synergy that just kind of happens. And how odd too. Michelle and I went to the same high school, and so I think that curiosity brings just wonderful people. And when you can be open, my friend and colleague always says, like, being open to give love and receive love. That's been her mantra, and she's one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever known. And so I think it's just such a warmth and energy that you guys bring to the table. So if people want to go to these retreats, become a retreat junkie at your retreats, where do they find all this wonderful information?
So we are on Instagram. That's usually where we share our stories and the retreat updates. And you can follow along as we're fixing up the property. We just started renovating. We have a family of hogs right now on the property. So people are really interested in what's going on with the hogs. We're at Lotus Rising Retreats. So that's our Instagram handle. And you can also find us on our website, www.lotusrisingretreats.com.
I am going to have to get a live feed of those hogs because that's going to be good for people's mental health. I remember during the pandemic, people were watching live streams of puppies and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it'd be awesome. And Jennie, where can people find out more about all of your wonderful programs and businesses?
So we have Zen Coast University, Zen Coast, COAST university.com. And then just following me on my personal Instagram is JENNIELOK.
Thank you so much. And I know this is going to be a lifelong friendship. And so I appreciate you guys for being so open and vulnerable. And yeah, we'll reconvene in Hawaii.
See you there.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember to support us for free by subscribing to our mailing list at colorsuccesspodcast.com. There, you will find our socials, YouTube channel, and all episodes on streaming platforms for great additional content. As Rob Heaps from Partner Track said, success is contagious, so come catch it.